Hi everyone, myself Nagateja. This training is all about data warehousing and Informatica concepts, which is Informatica PowerCenter, used for data integration, data warehousing, data migration, data mining, data cleansing. For various purposes, we'll use Informatica PowerCenter too. So basically, these sessions is will be used for beginners who wanted to begin their career in data warehousing with Informatica PowerCenter, and for the rookies who are already working on the Informatica PowerCenter tool. So in this session, we'll see about the data warehousing concepts. So this is the first session. The agenda of today is data warehousing concept and Informatica role in data warehousing, and finally the Informatica architecture, how it is going to deal and what is involved in Informatica architecture, everything. So let's come into the data warehousing concept. Let's say typically in the organizations, the data will be formed in either these two ways. One is OLTP, or otherwise we call it as OLAP. Generally, we see the data in the organizations will be divided into different modules like sales, HR, employees, delivery. All this data is divided into different modules. That module is called as, each module will be called as an OLTP system. OLTP system is nothing but online transactional processing system, which is used for day-to-day usage, day-to-day transactions, whereas OLAP, which is data warehousing. Data warehousing is always implemented in OLAP systems. What is OLAP? Online analytical processing. So why do we have these two instead of having only one, one central system? Why do we have this OLAP and OLP? Right. In the organizations, in any organizations, going to the banks, e-commerce, or whatever it is, we basically do day-to-day processing to run their business, right? So let's say, so we want a database where, if it is banking, we want a database where it has to save the day-to-day transactions happening, day-to-day accounts getting opened, getting closed, everything. And they have separate schemes like withdrawals as a different module, and sales as a different module. Sales is nothing but they are going to sell their product to customers, like credit cards, loans, everything. That's a different module that is handled by one particular users, and whereas the savings account things will be handled by one particular user, and withdrawals will be handled by one particular user. Right. This all shouldn't be integrated actually in all TP systems, because whereas if everything is integrated at one place, then the performance of the system will be degraded generally, because when we are going to fetch the data related to a transaction which happened a year before or 10 days before, it will take huge time for your query to get executed, because as the data which you are looking at is very huge but not chunks. So OLTP system basically divides this data to a different various modules, whereas we wanted whatever the data we wanted for the particular usage or a user story, we will query that data, and in not that data and not in the huge data source. That data source which we are querying is only used for these particular transactions or particular usage. So the query time will be increased, and whereas the performance of applications and user satisfaction will be dramatically increased. So that is the main concept under OLTP system. Got it? So, mean to say, basically OLTP system is a aggregated uh, data source. You got my point, right? So OLTP system consists all the required fields and columns from different tables joined together to get your outcome. Whereas in the data warehousing, it's separately used for a different purpose. It is not the data in the data warehouse won't be used for day-to-day processing, day-to-day transactional purposes. The data in the data warehouse is used for analytical purposes. That is why the terminology itself says like OLAP, Online Analytical Processing System, right? Whereas in the online analytical processing system, data warehouse, the data will be formed, all the data, whatever it is, will be formed in the different forms, like, the every data in the organization will be divided into uh, these kind of forms. Like the data will be divided geographically or time based or location based, and then we have this concept called as a star schema or snowflake schema. What is this star schema and all? Here in the OLTP systems, the data in the left side, the OLTP system, the data is formed. For example, a transaction table is there like this, where it has ID, location, date, amount, everything. All the details here, the location may be coming from the other table. The date values of this transaction is coming from the other table. But when you see this transaction table, you'll get all the data included. That means segregated at one place. When you go to OLAP, data warehouse concept, the same data will be divided into different things, where we call as star and star schema. Nothing but the star schema is divided into dimensions or facts. Typical data warehouse terminology, if you want to say, we call the data in the data warehouse will be a fact or a dimension. So now, what is a dimension and what is a fact? Okay. Let's take this location like Hyderabad, Bangalore, India, somewhere in the country, Asia, Africa, all these regions, right? These things and time. Time is like last year, this year, what's the day, date, everything. These things are already derived in the sense this time is, we know the time for next 100 years, right? We know the date and everything for next 100 years. And locations also, these locations are already derived mostly, like Hyderabad. This is not going to change. Hyderabad is the same. Bangalore, and Bangalore is like it's there for the last 100 years. It is not going to change, mostly. And what is going to change? Only the amounts what you are going to transact is going to change every time, right? So the things which are rarely changing, we call that as a dimension. And the things which will be changing continuously, we call that as a fact. Okay. So here, time, date, location, everything is a dimension. But the amount which we are going to withdraw or do a transaction is being changed and always will be changed, right? So that we call as fact. The main information in that total transaction is called a fact. Okay. So in the data warehousing, so the data taken out from the OLTP systems will be placed in this form in the OLAP system, right? But how we can do the analysis, or if we wanted to get the data of the transaction happened on Jan 1st, 2016, how we will get it from the OLAP systems? Okay. Here in the OLAP systems, the dimension and facts are combined together by using an ID, using the primary key foreign key relations. Okay, so that means the tables are different here. That the time table is different, location table is different, the fact is different. If you wanted this data to be reported, it will be used for any report or any analysis purpose, then we will join all these tables based on these PKs, like LID, location ID. This is coming from here, and TID, time ID. This is coming from here. Based on these foreign keys, we will get the data whatever you wanted for that report, for satisfying your report, or which is required for your analytical purpose. Right. Okay. Why we have two different concepts? The next question is why we have these two different concepts? Because one, I already said, in the typical day-to-day transactional system should be always uh, so fast, and performance should be so high. Otherwise, the user satisfaction will be degraded, and users won't be so happy to use your product. Whereas data warehousing concept or analytical purpose is used to identify or do analysis on the total of your data. So let's say OLTP systems won't contain the data, won't contain the history, right? The day-to-day transactional systems, why would it need a transaction of last 10 years? It won't have all those transactions. So all the transactions happened from the start will be migrated to an OLAP system, which is data warehouse. So if you ever wanted to do any analysis or any disaster recovery or whatever it is, you will always trigger to OLAP system. But for the daily business, we will only use OLTP system. Right. I think you got some basic information about data warehouse and a normal OLTP system. Now, let's go through some videos, whereas we can get clear information about how the data warehouse and what is the role of Informatica in data warehousing. Okay, so that is what it is, data warehousing concept. And now Informatica role in data warehousing. Let's take a look at some slides about this, where we can get some basic information of what is ETL and what's the role of Informatica in the ETL. So let's say ETL. ETL is like I said, data warehouse, ETL or Informatica is used for a bunch of different processes or different projects. Let's say this particular ETL or Informatica PowerCenter is used for solving your various organization level challenges, like whether you wanted to do data migration, you can do data migration, data integration, and data cleansing, and data quality, and all these things. So now, like Informatica, we have many other tools which will be used for all to satisfy all your organizational data-related challenges. Now let's concentrate on Informatica for now. Okay. As I'm having a background on Informatica, we will go with Informatica. Informatica ETL demonstration. Here, let's first start about the problem. Okay. The problem here is every organization have data, and even large organizations have a lot of data, where this data can be stored in many formats. Like they can have the data in the files, relational tables like Oracle, MongoDB, or Cassandra, Netezza, Teradata, and even unstructured data. Like we can say this PDF is an unstructured data. Excel files, all these are unstructured data. where, and the data must be collated, combined, uh, compared, and to made to work as seamlessly whole. Whereas if you have this data divided into a different forms, how we will combine this data, collaborate this data at one place, so we will satisfy our business needs, right? So let's say our marketing data, the marketing data in the organization is stored in the Oracle databases, and the manufacturing data is stored in DB2 databases. This is the big problem, right? It is not mandatory for an organization to store data at one place, because at one database or something, because we anyways end up with saving the data in different forms. That is like we can't escape from it, right? We can't stop this whole procedure, and we need to follow only one standard. That is really hard for any organization. But to satisfy your business needs at the end is like these all systems, marketing, as you say, manufacturing, all are OLTP systems, which is required for only their purposes. But when it comes to data warehouse, this all systems truly combine together to form a data warehouse, right? So first, this is a problem, and how we're going to solve it. Informatica PowerCenter. Informatica PowerCenter is a tool that will communicate with any database, any application, or any other formats like Excel, uh, 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 databases, and unstructured data even, and it can make all this data to sit at one place. Okay, so the usage is like reports and metadata management, everything. How it is going to do all these things? It has powerful transformations, converts one application data into another format, and you can keep at a central data warehouse where you have all the data. Okay, next, let's see the part of Informatica in the data warehouse, data integration concept. Let's say data integration is the process of combining data from many different sources into one application. You need to deliver the right data in the right format at the right time frame to fuel great analytics and business process, right? So you have a lot of data, and if you can't provide the data whenever the business needs, then what is the use of having that lot of data? So that is what the data integration is, combining different forms of data at one place and deliver the right deliver the right output to the business at the right time. Okay, next, data integration methodology. The methodology is extract, transform, load, which is ETL. So basically, what we're gonna do here in Informatica Power Center is we will extract the data from different sources, whatever the source system it is, we don't bother about it, and we will transform the data as it is needed, and then we will load it into the target system. It can be a file, it can be a database, target system. Okay, next. So that is how we are going to handle it. Now let's say we'll see the examples. Why, what are these transformations and how these transformations are used, right? Okay. Now let's say a Flipkart or okay, leave about Flipkart. Take it Walmart. Walmart is a e-commerce or general store actually, where it is situated in throughout the world, and is placed in different countries, right? So the product will be mostly same, but the currency here will be different for each country. Whereas these all are OLTP systems, no problem there. But when this data is coming through the OLAP system to the data warehouse, this every information should be transformed into a global level or central information, right? So let's say here in the US, we take the price or currency as dollar, and here in the India we take it as rupee and everything. But when we are extracting the data and sending it over to the target, the currency information should be consistent and stagnant. So what we're going to do here is we have to convert this yen or rupee or uh, pound everything to dollar, US dollar, right? So this is a basic example where we have to do a data a cleansing operation or a data transforming operation, right? Like the ways business have a lot of requirements where we can satisfy all the requirements by making use of the transformations available in the Informatica Power Center. Now, ETL for data warehousing. This is what we're going to do: extract, transform, and load. How it is going to happen? The operational systems, like LTP systems, will have everything at one place, divided into different data sources. And while we doing the transformation, we will normalize or denormalize data however we want it to, and aggregate the data, cleanse the data, consolidate the data like from different source systems. And any business rules they wanted, we can apply the business rules by using the transformations. And then we will load this data to data warehouse, which is typically used for decision support or analytical purposes, right? The data here is uh, aggregated and historical data, right? Historical data, fine. In the LTP systems, yes, we are not going to save the old data. The data should be there in the organization for any disaster handling movements or any legal or whatever the purpose it is. We need that all data to be there in our system. So that is where we will implement data warehousing, right? Next, the particular Informatica tool, PowerCenter, is used for data warehousing. And how we are going to do that? We have sources in source data in this all formats. Okay, then by using this tool, we will transform or combine, consolidate the data, and then we will load that data to a data warehouse. So, Power Center for data warehousing, the one which you saw before is like a, structured data. There are two types of data again: structured data or unstructured data. Structured data can be any database, RDBMS, ERP systems, or flat files. But whereas unstructured data is like getting the data from XMLs, PDFs, Word, Excels, and any languaging programs or any web services, right? These all things are unstructured data, and even Informatica has the capability to handle the unstructured data also. There is a concept called as B2B data transformation, which will be used for handling the unstructured data requests, where we need to first change the format of the unstructured data to global level format, XML, and then from the XML we will extract and we will load it to a target database, right? For these kind of features, we may require to process the unstructured data directly in the Informatica Power Center. We may require a different license from Informatica, but this is like a rare cases. Like mostly, we will deal with the structured data. If at all your organization requires to deal with an unstructured data, definitely you should have to get the valid license from the Informatica Corporation, right? Yes. Now that we got the basic information why Informatica Power Center and how it is used in data warehousing and what is its role. Now let's take a look at the last topic of the session, Informatica architecture. Okay, Informatica architecture also holds the server and client three-tier architecture concept. So let's say for an Informatica Power Center, we require some set of Informatica services. The first one is we need to install Informatica server either in Unix box or an Windows system. And you need Informatica client tools to communicate with the server, and from the client tools you will be able to create the Informatica objects. So now let's say the center part is Informatica server, which is domain. And when you install, you must specify a database, whereas Informatica can be installed on only specific databases like Oracle, MS SQL, DB2, and Sybase. You need to specify any one of the database schema, and repository, domain repository will be created on part of Informatica server installation. The domain repository holds information about the server, the domain, what are the services involved in this particular domain, and what is the node. If you have multiple nodes, then it will store the data of what is the master node and worker node, all this. So don't concentrate or don't worry about this Informatica architecture. If you are not going to understand some of the terminology what I'm speaking, no need to bother about that, because this is entirely a different role, Informatica administrator. You just have to get the basics out of it, so that you will know how the Informatica server, Informatica client, everything is working behind, right? That's it. Now, going to here, this is Informatica server, and we must have two services to satisfy all our Power Center needs. Power Center is the Informatica tools, which is going to client tools, which is going to contact the Informatica server. So these client tools will be or should be installed in any Windows box, and this server can be installed in any Windows or Linux box. We will make contact by using a TCP/IP protocols through from the client to the server. The both client and server should be basically available in the same network, whereas they should see each other, right? And then we must require two services there. One is Informatica PowerCenter repository service and Informatica PowerCenter integration service. Okay. And then let's come to that things, what is repository, what is integration. Again, let's quickly complete or wrap up this. And then you do all this configuration part from a console, web console, thin client call as an Informatica administrator. All these things we will go through to a hypertext security protocol, and the other things, which is like extracting the data from the source and loading into the target. That means contacting the source system or target system is done through a native drivers or else an ODBC, right? This is how it's gonna work. Like, we will have server in place, we will have source system, either a DB or a file system or any unstructured data, and then we have all our client tools, Power Center tools, this four. We contact directly, tools will be contact directly to the server, and we can contact from the client to the source or target systems to extract the metadata and save it in our Power Center repository, and from there we can process the data. Okay, we'll go in detail with all these client tools, but that is the high level. Next, let's say administration. That is what I said. Administration, you don't have to bother about it, but the administration in the client, whereas we have four client tools, right? And therefore, the repository manager is mostly used for administration purpose. So what we can do there is like we can create projects, objects, and we can migrate, do the deployment things and all. And next, the administrator console, which is a web console like a web page to simplify, where we can create the roles, start the services, create services, back up the services, manage the users, giving the privileges, permissions, and all can be handled in Informatica administrator. Whereas Informatica developer or Informatica consultant will use mostly these client tools for their for their coding purpose, like designer, workflow manager, and workflow monitor. So this designer is the part where we will do 70% of our coding work. Okay, coding work in a sense like how we are going to extract and what are the business rules to be applied and what are the transformations to be used, and then what is the target. All these data flow will be done in the Informatica designer. And Informatica Workflow Manager is going to use this core shell to execute the jobs. That means Informatica Manager is used to create workflows and the connections to the source and target systems, and can execute that workflow. That workflows again contain some tasks like a session or something, and always a session holds a map, right? So then that means you're going to attach the mapping to a session, and that session is going to be held in a workflow. That workflow you can run. So that means we mostly don't do any coding part here, but we will configure the Informatica integration service or a workflow to execute your desired job, which you created the core shell here. And then Informatica Workflow Monitor is used to monitor the executed jobs like run status and how many rows has been extracted and how many has been fed to the target, and any transformations or any errors, everything you're gonna see in the Informatica Workflow Monitor. Again, this is just a overview about the tools. When we will start looking into the tools, I'll explain more about it. Okay, and then next. Right, you now got the information like what is a data warehouse and how Informatica is going to do that, and what is its role, and what are the Informatica architecture, the server, client, and what are the services we need for PowerCenter, and what are the various PowerCenter tools like R, D, WM, repository, designer, workflow manager, and workflow monitor. And now the actual three-letter word here, ETL, what are we gonna do? Extracting we are doing and transforming at last. Anyways, you have a basic idea about it now, but let's see. PowerCenter reads data row by row from a table or a group of related tables in a database or from a file. And then this database or file is referred to as source. Exactly. The structure of the source is contained in a source definition object. That means we in the PowerCenter or any data warehousing tools will not hold the data with them. Okay, we are going to take only the structure. That means we are only taking the metadata of the source and target systems. And then we are, by knowing the metadata, we are going to do all the transformations. And when you run the workflow, it actually reads the data. And as you define the data flow, it will process the data in the data flow, and it will load the data to the target. That is, every data extracting and the loading operation is going to happen in the fly. That means Informatica server is not, or PowerCenter repository is not going to save the data within it. It is just going to extract and load. But what we're going to save is the metadata of the sources and target objects. Right? Next. Transforming. PowerCenter converts the rows into a format the second target system will be able to use. The logic for this conversion is defined in a transformation object. Okay, that means we extracted. That means we taken a data from Oracle, SQL, DB2, and everything. Firstly, we need to convert the data to an understandable format to the target system. The target system is like MySQL. Okay, then we need to convert the data, which, however, it should be accessible or compatible with the MySQL data types, right? So that is going to handle by Informatica PowerCenter. Next. Load. PowerCenter writes data row by row to a table or a group of tables in database or file. This is called the target. Again, the structure of the target is contained in the target definition object. That is what we are going to hold only the metadata. So how an Informatica is going to handle this job, how an Informatica server is so intelligent that it can pick data from any object, that means any data sources, that means like Oracle, MySQL, MSSQL and all. That means Informatica itself is like having a lot of inbuilt data types with them, which if you consider Oracle as a source system, it won't directly process the Oracle data types. That means Informatica can't directly understand the Oracle data types. So whatever the data types it will firstly convert into the Informatica understandable level data types, and from there we will process the data to target systems, and it can have the ability to convert the data type to a target systems data types at last, right? I think you got a basic understanding on the data warehousing and how Informatica is used in the data warehousing concept, right? Okay. If you have any questions on it, you can always message me or comment on your with your questions. I'm always happy to help. Thanks. That's it for today, guys. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you.